In this video, we'll go over my 2020 gear list. We'll take a look at some of the gear I use on my backpacking trips. Now, a lot of this is subjective and I'm still experimenting with my equipment as I dial in my likes and dislikes. We'll start with the big 4 items, and then we'll go into other contents that I carry. The 4 big items include your backpack, sleep system, sleep pad, and shelter. If you're interested in the clothing I wore on these trails, I'll post a link down below, additionally somewhere on the screen. There we go. Alright, starting with your backpack, I use the 2018 Osprey Atmos 65 liter pack with a large frame size. I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about Osprey just because of their prices. I was fortunate enough to buy this pack on sale. A big complaint people have with this pack is the weight. This pack weighs a whopping 4 pounds, 10 ounces. That's almost 5 pounds. I know new people like myself that doesn't seem like a lot, but when you start to add up your gear, it starts to get pretty heavy. The weight personally doesn't bother me. I was looking for a pack that was comfortable to wear and has a lot of storage space. When I went to the gear shop, the medium-sized pack was what they recommended for me for my body, but I didn't find it as comfortable as the large. The medium pack size, I found the shoulder straps were biting into my traps, and it was easier for me just to go with the large and then adjust the shoulder straps to be a little smaller. For a sleep system, I'm using a sleeping bag, and I'm using the REI Indigo 25 degree, large and wide. I went with the 25 degree bag because I normally run hot when I sleep, and I don't need something going down to colder temps. Plus, I can layer up if it gets chilly. I went with the large because I'm 6'3" and normal size sleeping bags just don't fit me. Additionally, I went with the wide because I like to move my feet when I sleep and not have them all boxed and restricted. This sleeping bag weighs 1 pound 14 ounces, so almost 2 pounds. For a sleeping pad, I went with the REI Air Rail 1.5 self-inflate. Again, large and wide. It's 1.5 inches thick, and I went with the self-inflate over the regular air mattress for 2 reasons. 1, it was cheaper, and 2, I was thinking along the lines of durability. If my sleep pad would ever deflate in the middle of the night, there'd still be some sort of cushion or pad between the ground. There's a foam-like interior that helps with the insulation and creates a padding. The only downside when it's rolled up, this sleep pad does take up a lot of space. One of the features I like about this sleep pad are the side rails. For a person like me that rotates in my sleep, the side rails like to keep me in place and prevent me from slipping off the pad. This sleep pad weighs in at 1 pound, 15.3 ounces, so basically 2 pounds. For shelter, we went with the REI Half Dome 2 Plus. This is a perfect size for me and Nikki and our dog Arlo. The nice thing about this tent is there's 2 doors and 2 vestibules. So if either of us had to get up in the middle of the night, we don't have to crawl over each other. The nice thing about the vestibules is we can store our equipment in there without keeping them out in the open and picking up dew. I have a footprint for the tent, so it won't get damaged and helps the tent last a little longer. This tent weighs at 5 pounds, 15.8 ounces, so again, basically 6 pounds. This tent is carried between the 2 of us, so not one person is carrying all the weight. Additional sleep items that we bring is the Cedar Summit aerial pillow. This sucker is great to keep your head off the ground and sleep in comfort. It packs small and weighs 2 ounces. Another item I brought is the Cedar Summit Reactor medium sleeping bag liner. This liner helps protect the sleeping bag as well as add additional heat to those cold nights. Location and time of the year is dependent if we bring this along. This item is something I'd use if I feel cold in my sleeping bag. The liner weighs 8.9 ounces. On to cooking and hydration. For cook stove, I'm rocking the Jetboil Minimo cook system. This pot can easily cook 4 cups of water for the 2 of us. 1 cup for the hot beverage and 1 cup for our food. I went with this specific system because of the efficiency of boiling water. 2 cups of water can be boiled in less than a minute. Faster burn times means less fuel resupply on those long runs, and less fuel we need to carry. The stove has a built-in igniter, so I don't need to bring a lighter. I imagine if the igniter ever goes out, I'll have to bring a Bic or some sort of set of matches. The stove comes in at 15.4 ounces, just less than a pound. The Jetboil 100 gram fuel comes in at 7.1 ounces, and you can get the larger size one, such as the 250 grams, and that weighs 10.5 ounces. But with the larger size, there is a bit of a trade-off. The 100 gram fuel allows you to store it with the stove in the pot, but the 250 gram, only the fuel will fit in the pot. For Camp Cup, I use my GSI Outdoor Infinity Backpackers mug. I use a separate mug as opposed to using the camp pot because I want to cook my food in the pot while having my hot beverage in something else. These plastic mugs are amazing because you can have it vented for over a half hour and the liquids are still boiling hot. This cup weighs 3.5 ounces. For eating utensils, I use the Hammer Gear Go Bites Uno Spork. It has a spoon on one side and has a fork on the other. There's also a sharper side on the fork side, so if you need to cut anything, you can use that. I went with this spork over a titanium spork because I don't like how titanium feels in my mouth, and I don't like the sound of metal on metal. It's a personal thing, it's kind of like nails on a chalkboard, but this spork weighs in at 0.5 ounces. For water system, I use the Platypus Bay Zip LP 3-liter reservoir. I went with the 3 liters because I drink a lot of water and I don't want to stop every so often just to refill it. I find 3 liters lasts me about the day and I can generally resupply at the end of day or near camp. The downside to carrying this much water is the extra weight. The system itself is 6.8 ounces, but a liter of water is 2.2 pounds, so 3 liters is 6.6 pounds. For water filtration, I use the Platypus Gravity Works system. I initially went with the 2-liter system, but after one trip with Nikki and Arlo, filling the 2-liter system consistently to fill all of our water took a long time. I carry 3 liters, Nikki carries 3 liters, and Arlo carries 2 liters. You can do the math of how many times I had to fill the water. But since then, I upgraded to the 4-liter gravity system. The plus side to the system is you can use the clean bag to store additional water and use at camp for night in the morning. The system weighs 13.5 ounces. Additionally, for emergencies, I carry the Ketadine MicroPur 30-pack purification tablets. These weigh in at 0.9 ounces. For survival and miscellaneous items, some of these items are situation dependent, and I realize not all of them are necessary, but some of these items I like to bring with me while using on the trail. GSI Outdoor Cat Hole Sanitation Trawl. When you gotta go, you gotta go. Digging a cat hole is part of the Leave No Trace principles, and this trawl helps dig those holes. It weighs in at 2.9 ounces. Field and Stream Headlamp. I bought this at Dick's Sporting Goods years ago, and it was really cheap and had multiple options for high, low light, and additional as red light at night. The only downside is that this headlamp sucks through batteries. I may upgrade in the future to something LED or something more energy efficient. This weighs 3.3 ounces. Bug net. This was something I picked up before our trip to the Everglades. I know how much mosquito sucks and they love to fly around your head. I use this net quite a few times on a few of our trips to keep the mosquitoes at bay. This bug net weighs 0.9 ounces. I have 3 stuff sacks that have different purposes. I have a 20-liter Cedar Summit compressed dry sack which holds my sleeping bag and sleeping items. This sack weighs 5.9 ounces. Second is an 8-liter Cedar Summit dry sack that I use for extra clothes. This sack weighs in at 1.1 ounces. This third is the Cedar Summit Ultra Sil Day Pack. This pack is location dependent, meaning I'll use this packable bag for gathering water or carrying extra stuff on a day hike. It's nice to bring some extra items that aren't required on a large hiking trip. This pack weighs in at 2.5 ounces. If we're going to a wet environment or it's hunting season, I'll pack my Jaywalk rain pack cover. It's a nice bright fluorescent orange that you can't miss. Weighs 5.4 ounces. I'll also pack ear foamies and eye shades as well. I can get more rest blocking out other sounds, and sometimes a full moon can be rather bright at night. For entertainment, I'll bring a Kindle Paperwhite and get some reading done before bed or while hanging out at camp. For charging my phone and Kindle, I have an Anker power bank, 20,100 milliamps, which is good for several charges on both of our phones and devices. Additionally, for entertainment, I'll bring a little baggie that has dice, some score sheets, and a pencil for games like Farkle, Yahtzee, or just some random dice games. Another big item I bring is the REI Flex Chair. This camp chair is quite nice when you want to take a load off and not have to sit on the ground. I know it's very controversial for some folks to bring a chair versus a pad, but I'll sacrifice the weight for carrying something with a little more comfort. Now when it comes to food storage, for the longest time I was using the Bear Vault BV500, which is a large hard container that prevents bears from getting into it. I use this container a lot because I know there are plenty of areas that require bear-proof storage. This was one that I decided to get and practice using on some of my hikes. Weighs 2 pounds and 9 ounces. Additionally, I have a 10-liter sack that can also use to store food. And the last one are some random medical and sanitation items. Bug spray or repellent, I really like the Naturapel. Banana boat sunblock, I'm always putting this stuff on my face and neck to prevent sunburn. Carmex lip balm with the SPF 15, a half smash roll of TP Purell hand sanitizer, and a covered sealed Ziploc pack for those pack it out moments. This all together goes with my trawl for easy access. And last but not least, this item is somewhere between being carried and strapped to the pack. It really depends on the terrain, and I'm talking about my trekking poles. Personally, I love trekking poles. I find that they help take some of the load off your knees and legs, relieve those stabilizer muscles on your calves. When there's weight on your back and you traverse over uneven, rocky terrain, your legs work twice as hard just to keep you balanced. I find trekking poles help with that tremendously. I use the Trail Buddy hiking sticks, and they weigh in at 10.2 ounces. I'll additionally wrap a piece of tape around one of those poles for 2 reasons. 1, to help identify which pole is for your hand. Over time, the cork will mold to your hand and you want to keep that consistent. And 2, the tape can be used for repairs on the tent or gear while you're out in the field. Well, there you have it. We took a look at the gear that I currently use or don't use depending on where I go. But majority of this gear are items I carry on a regular basis. I find it best to use good judgment when you're going on the trail. Now I do realize some of these items I don't need, but if I want to have them, I'm willing to bear that extra weight. Now I hope some of you got something out of this and maybe give you a few ideas if you're looking to get into backpacking. Until next time, thanks for watching and enjoy the trails.